Hey Dude,
The 90s Called,
with Christine Taylor and David Lascher. Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us this week on Hey Dude, The 90s Called. I'm Christine, and I'm here with my co-host.
Yes, I'm David.
Hi, David.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, congratulations. I saw that Casey made a decision.
Yes.
That's
Our
so
son
exciting.
Casey has committed to University of Texas at Austin. I'm so excited for him.
That's so great. And what a fun town to get to go visit.
I know, right? And I'm so excited because the school is amazing. I mean, they have so much to offer, but the city, as you know, I mean, that's where we reconnected, right?
Yes.
At the Austin TV Festival. It's just like a thriving city with that, 6th Street with all those bars and the music and the food.
The music, the food. Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he spent a weekend there and had a great time, but he really stayed like in the frat party scene and didn't really explore the city. But I'm like, Casey, after freshman year, you still have sophomore year, junior year, senior year. Like the city is going to come into play here.
Yes.
And,
yes. He'll find that. How far is the campus from downtown?
Well, the campus is like kind of its own part of town, and the kids kind of own that area.
Yeah.
It's a frat row and sorority row, and the campus is big. It's almost integrated into the city. But then, if you venture out, I mean, there's that lake running through the city, people paddleboarding down the river and laying out, and all those tech headquarters are there. There's just so many opportunities there. And, it was a little leap of faith for him because he doesn't know that many kids going there. Mm. And he kind of wanted to just forge his own path. He worked hard to have a lot of options. And so at the end of the decision process, we were literally asking waiters at dinner, like, what do you think? This school or this school?
Oh, gosh. It's so amazing to sort of let them take the reins, right? And to you have to, obviously, you're the parent and you need to book things and show up and kind of guide them through it a little bit. But like really backing off and letting them make the decision that feels best for them it's kind of freeing, isn't it? And pretty impressive when you see your child really understanding who they are and what they want. Like, I think that's so awesome. And it's really exciting.
Yeah. And you never want to be, I didn't want to be the parent that pushed him one way or the other. And then he didn't love it. And he goes, you made me go here. And now,
of course,
I wanted it to purely be his decision, but he took so long deciding. Other kids were getting housing and roommates. And I was like, at the end of the day, I'm like, Casey, if it was me, I'd go to UT.
Right.
That's
all you can say. And then you wash your hands of it and walk away, right. And then let him let that digest a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, let me ask you something. We both know our college experience or lack thereof, but had you gone, and I know it was going to be NY, but would you have ever been the frat guy kind of thing? Was that your right up your alley or no?
I don't think so. I mean, I've heard what you have to go through,
Yeah, that worries me for
pledging.
Casey.
And I don't do well with like vomit and excessive drinking and like disgusting stuff like that. But
this vomit thing, that's like a new, like I have another friend whose son is pledging right now at another school. And she said she's sworn to secrecy, but she said it involved bodily fluids. And there's really only so many bodily fluids. And somebody said vomit because I guess that's the thing that happens.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to throw up. And then there's something also about maybe eating a live goldfish. I don't know if that's real. That's upsetting.
Listen, I
PETA
understand.
would not be thrilled about that.
I can't believe how antiquated the whole process is, that it's still what it was like in the 50s,
Right?
But I get the idea of going through hell with a group of guys that bonds you forever, right? So his pledge class, these are going to be his brothers. Like if you went to war with somebody.
Right.
And
well, you used that analogy when you did the movie when you did White Squall, that was like what it felt like for you. It was going through that experience with those guys and you're forever united.
Yeah. White Squall was like a 6-month hazing process.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. I agree. I like that in theory. Obviously there's been horrible accidents and terrible things that have happened in recent years that still keep happening, which is again why I also feel like why can't schools sort of, have some parameters that really need to be followed, because you certainly don't want, awful things happening to kids. But I do see the upside of the bonding.
Yeah, it's about the bonding, and I'm just so excited for him. He can't wait to go, and I can't wait to visit him. And you and I are going, right, to do some panel for iHeart, and we're doing some episodes in Austin.
Yes.
And his orientation happens to be that week. So
that's awesome.
He might be with me.
Oh, that's so fun. We have a guest.
Yes, we do.
Let's have him come in and let's say hi.
What's up, Kel Mitchell?
Oh,
hi.
Yo, what's up, Kel Mitchell?
How are you? I'm good.
Thanks for joining us.
Dude, we
Happy
got
to be here.
Nickelodeon royalty in the house.
Oh, thank you, man.
That's an understatement.
No, we have similar beginnings, man. We started on Nickelodeon probably before you guys. When did when did that start?
All that was 94.
Okay, so you were on our heels, right?
Yes.
When we finished.
Yeah. Because when did you guys come out? When was that?
We were 89 to 91. So
Okay.
we had a couple of years, got as many episodes in as possible, and then we got out of the desert, out of Tucson, Arizona.
We were a great experiment, basically.
Great show, though. I love that show, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, everybody worked hard, but we didn't know what we didn't know what Nickelodeon was, and I think it was their first scripted show, right, Christine?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was us and Salute Your Shorts, maybe. So we always go back and forth on this. But hey, did you guys shoot in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was so you got to reap the benefits of the big Nickelodeon studios, right?
Yeah, so we shot in Florida, and then we went from Florida to LA. Later.
You did.
But it started in Florida, and that was cool because they had the Nickelodeon tour and all that stuff going through the studio, and it was the whole Universal tour, but Nickelodeon was part of it. So you'll be shooting, and then they had this huge window at the top, and so the tourists that were coming through Universal,
oh my God,
they would come and just look at it. So depending on what we were doing, because I got fans that come up to me like, yeah, you were just I was doing all kind of crazy stuff.
Right.
They would see our rehearsals.
Look at the actors in their natural environment. Look how they're studying their lines.
It's just the zoo of actors, right? These weird creatures. But where did you grow up? And did you audition in Florida, or did they fly you out? How did it all work?
Okay, yeah. So, oh yeah, we're already into it. Oh, we were just talking. I didn't know we were going.
This is it, man.
He said, "This is it." Yeah. So, in on the south side of Chicago, that's where I grew up. I was a kid that was very energetic. I was a bit of a class clown. My parents tried everything. They were like, "Okay, let's try Kung Fu." Boy Scouts, science camp, everything. And the one thing that stuck was acting. It was one summer, my parents sent me to a summer course at the community theater in our neighborhood. And I went to this theater a lot of times, saw different plays. And I remember going there and I was just like, yo, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is it. And I got to improv in there. I got to do a lot of plays there, which was super awesome. And then from there, we started to get kind of noticed as far as I started doing plays in Victory Gardens Theater, downtown Chicago, Goodman Theater in downtown Chicago. And this wasn't a thing of I want to be on television. This was a thing of, this is a positive outlet.
Right.
And what a great theater city. I mean, did you ever do any of the Second City or any of the sketch type programs?
Yeah, totally know of Second City because they're just super, super awesome. But when I was I wasn't ready for Second City yet at being a kid.
Young.
At that point, I was too young. But yeah, just so much amazing talent in the city of Chicago, into even get noticed after working in the theater, community out there. I started getting like a little bit of critical acclaim of some of the plays I was in, because I was in plays with like adults and stuff like that. But yeah, then the audition that came along, after a few years doing theater, well, my first gig was I was a model. So I like to tell people that.
Of course you were.
Tell us what you modeled. At what age was this? 12?
Yeah, this was like I was doing. I was on the back of the Captain Crunchberry box.
Oh yes.
Dude,
so I had like a high top fade, holding Crunchberries.
Oh yes, yes.
To me, that was it. Like I was a freshman in high school at that point, and people were running around with the box, like it's the kid on the box, and they were running around.
Yeah, you made it, man. You made it.
But then when I was a sophomore in high school, and I had finals on the brain, and all that came along. It was an audition. Around that time, you didn't get shows like that would come and be in Chicago. It was more like infomercials and maybe a TV movie here and there. But then when that came along, it was like, okay, sketch comedy for kids. Oh, this is crazy. But I had finals on the brain. So I was, and my parents were very serious about education.
Academics.
My dad's a retired psychologist. My mom is a retired teacher. So, it was like school, very, very important. And so I go in to do this audition and I forget my monologue. And I never do that. And so I was just like, oh, and then they're like, oh yeah, just walk out and, go study it, and come back in. I was like, oh, thank you. The great casting directors, great. So I walk out, but I knock over like this, all the video cameras. We're talking about the 90s. So this was the big VHS tape. You know what I mean? I knock it over and I'm like, play it off. And I do it in a funny physical way, but I hear them laughing. Later I found out they were laughing with me, but at that point I thought they were laughing at me. So I'm like, oh no, I've ruined this audition.
Yeah, you thought you
were. Right.
I go back in and they're like, okay, you're going to do the monologue, but first let's see you do some impersonations. And I'm like, okay. And instead of doing impersonations of people that were famous, I did impersonations of people that I, saw on the L, riding on the train, going to, downtown. And then my uncles, my teachers, I did all of that in there. Ed was in there because, I used to watch, Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure and stuff like that. And me and my friends used to laugh like, like what if those kids like from Saved by the Bell grew up on the south side of Chicago? You know what I mean? How would they talk? And they're like, well, yeah, let's go over there on 95th Street, Stony Island, and all that stuff. So I did all that in there. And then I also did my coach, who was just very, very mean. Like if it was Valentine's Day, he wouldn't care. He would yell at the kids and go, no one cares about Valentine's alive. Shut up. And I did that in there. And all these characters that the writers actually used and ended up being in the show. But in my audition, did the monologue afterwards. Then it was 5 days or a week that I didn't hear anything. And you all know if you don't hear nothing for about a week, you ain't get it. So
you write it off.
Wait, had you prepared that stuff? Had you prepared material, or you just on the spot came up and did impressions of people?
On the spot, and they hadn't told us we were going to be doing impersonations like that. I wasn't even, and so it was just like literally on the spot. And I remember Brian Robbins, Dan, everybody was in there, like from head of the class. They were all in there, cracking up, falling on the floor from these characters. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I got this thing. And then I rocked the monologue, but then I didn't hear anything. And then I remember it was late one night, like the weeks later. And then the phone ring, and that's back when there was no cell phone. So it's like phone ring, and my mom was like, "What? We're going what now? What you want to do? LA? Oh, all right, thank you, Jesus." And so we went to LA, and this was every funny kid from every city. This was the Avengers of all the
there was another round of auditions?
Wow.
Another round, bro.
Oh,
Another round.
shoot.
And we flew out to LA to battle these other kids. I got in and ended up being on all that. And the thing about all that is that it was only a special. It was just supposed to be a special. It wasn't picked up because, like you all had mentioned too, Nickelodeon was still figuring this whole thing out.
Finding its legs, yeah.
Yeah, so even a sketch show that was so diverse, that was like, it gets compared to Saturday Night Live a lot, but I compare it to In Living Color because of the diversity and because of the acts that we had on the show as far as like musical acts and stuff. I feel like it was more similar to that. And what's crazy is that they never had tried anything like this before. So they're like, let's try it as a special. And if it takes off, then it could be that. So we shot it, did the special, and everyone went back home thinking like, oh, that was great. You know what I mean? And then the call started back up again. And was like, we're doing this as a season. Let's go. Yeah.
My notes show that all that was Nickelodeon's longest running series from 94 to 2005.
Let's go. Yeah.
So that worked out, man.
Incredible.
It worked out, man. It worked out.
So it was like on a dime that you went from being, focusing on finals to a week or so later, going out to audition, then shooting this. And so where were you at in school, and what was was it sort of was this a big discussion in your household knowing that it was important to your parents that you graduate? And
yes. So here's the thing. It's definitely a big conversation because my mom ended up being pregnant around the same time. Right. And so she just had my baby sister, who was just like a few months. So we were trying to figure out like, okay, how are we going to do this? And then I have a older sister as well, and my dad. And so then my mom was like, okay, I'll fly with him out to Florida and I'll be like momager. So I'll be out there. And I was like, okay, cool. That happened. And so shout out to my mom for, deciding to do that. And it just so it worked because she was already taking off from teaching because she was pregnant. So for a little bit. So she was able to do that at the same time, you know what I mean? Which was cool. And so went out there to go do that. And then it was finishing school. Shout out to, my school at the time, CVS High School. I just recently I know I'm moving forward, but I just recently went to my high school and got to speak to the kids there, which was super awesome and give back. But it was just a surreal moment to say like, hey, I was in these same chairs.
Right.
Wow.
And had this dream and all these things, and you all can do the same. But okay, so I'll go back. And so, and we did that, and my teachers sent my work back and forth because we had on location education. I don't know if you guys did that.
Oh my God, Alan Simon!
Oh yeah,
that was
on location education. I was going to say.
Oh my God,
that must have been Nickelodeon's their people, right?
Yeah, I got straight A's my whole senior year,
bro. So we would go in his trailer. We're all different ages, different classes, but we had our tutors, as you all know, and and go in rehearsals, go do that back and forth. But what's cool is that Keenan and I, we were like, we want to stay, enrolled in our school. So every time we would go on hiatus, we would go back to school, because I wanted to still have that experience. And what was cool about it, Nickelodeon, it's not like now where like with social media, everybody would have known, but it takes time to film, and it takes a little bit. So we were able to finish out like sophomore year, junior year, then around senior year, that's when it got a little crazy because we had freshmen that were coming in even when my junior year, and I'd be like, because like where I grew up, I didn't want everybody knowing like this kid, that's like what's going on. You know what I mean? So
you just wanted to fly under the radar a little, right?
I did. I remember. I feel like it was my junior year because the teachers that had younger kids, one of the teachers was like, I saw Boys to Men was on your show. And next time, if he comes through, give him this. And I'm like, what? And I had like teachers giving me stuff and all these things. And then one of my teachers ended up playing one of the episodes. So imagine this, like I'm in between classes and I'm walking to my classroom and I hear me as a character doing. I'm like, no, he's like playing it, and now everybody knows what's going on.
Worlds colliding together.
Yeah, it got to a point where we couldn't hide anymore, and also too, it got kind of crazy. Like wherever we would go, like any kid spot, they would be chasing us all over the place. You know what I mean? Like Chuck E. Cheese. You know,
there was a delay, right, in the Nickelodeon shows. I remember for us, it took a year probably before we were working all the time, but then we'd end up, you know, at a mall or at Universal, and then we'd get chased and realize, oh my gosh, people are watching this. Yeah. But you played, like, your character was you. So you couldn't hide behind like, you know, a fictional character.
The first show was not me. So that was on all that. It was Ed Goodberger, Coach Creedon, all like, you know, I had like 8 different characters that I would play. Right. So that was good. But then also too, they still knew us because we would do the wraparounds and stuff like that. So like the younger kids knew. It was like a lot of the high school students weren't really watching Nickelodeon around that time. You know what I mean? But then when all that started to like rev up and they started seeing the musical guests that we had, then high school students, they started to get that older audience in. And then it was cool, right? It was pandemonium. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then how did Keenan and Kell, the spinoff, come about?
Okay, so then that's when,
then there was no hiding. There was
absolutely no hiding. Yeah. So it was kind of like, it was a hiatus where they said, okay, we know the other kids are going to go home, and you all usually do go home. But at this point, what we want you all to do, we're going to create a show that's just about you and Keenan, because we were watching you and Keenan on set, in the office set, and you guys are very funny. We got this great idea. And I was like,
just when you met Keenan, was that just instant bonding? Was that sort of like you guys had a shorthand right from the start and it just worked? Oh, that's so great.
The thing is, like, when we did all that, I don't know if they planned this, but all the kids we're from different cities, except for me and Josh. We were both from Chicago, so we knew each other in auditions and stuff. But when we got there, we got the role. They had us all staggered coming out to the lobby to meet everybody at once. Keenan was the last one to come out of the elevator at the Peabody Hotel in Florida. Out there. And I remember he came out of the room and he had on the Mighty Ducks rollerblades and the Mighty Ducks gear. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to kick it with that kid. I got to hang out with him. And then our moms are like identical. Like same height, you know what I mean? They're still friends to this day. They got a business together, all kind of stuff. But they're awesome. Like super, super cool. And so we just kind of gelled, you know what I mean? And in our sketches that we did, it just was kind of like, I would say something, he would know what I was going to say. You know what I mean? We got each other's comedy. And even to this day, we still get each other's comedy. And so they saw that. And they were just like, yo, we got to turn this into something. And it was so cool because we had been doing sketch. And then they were like, yo, this show is going to be like a Martin, Will Smith type of, you know, a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type of show, Martin show. And we're like, yo, for real? And we're like, yeah. And we're like, we're going to shoot the pilot while, you know, the other kids are on hiatus. We'll shoot the pilot. But this goes, you all have, you know, 2 shows simultaneously going on. And we're like, okay, you know what I mean? Let's do it. And it worked. It kicked off. And was just such an amazing show. Like to this day, I'm still have to do orange soda. I'm getting asked about orange soda.
The orange soda, yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter, like 5-star restaurant, whatever, people are still talking about the waiter will go, hey, you're not gonna get orange soda.
Dude, I just watched an episode where they put a lock on the orange soda thing and they want to start charging you for it and you pass out. I mean, when you recognize, I'm glad they recognized the comedic team that you two were, because when you see 2 people that play off each other like that, it's almost undeniable. And I'm just so happy that they nurtured it and you were able to go on and work so many years together.
Yeah, man, it's that's what you hope for. You know what I mean? As an actor, you know, a lot of times when you get booked on something, once it's say cut, you might not never hang out with that person again. But it's like super awesome to have this brotherhood with Keenan that has just been over so many years. It's cool.
so Brian Robbins, Christine, you know Brian, right?
I do know Brian. Yes.
Yes. First of all, I'm an inspiring guy. I mean, he's really done amazing things. But so he created all that.
But he also started out as an actor, right?
Yeah,
on Head of the Class. Head of the Class. Right, exactly. That was the 80s, yes? If we get our decades in line here. So, yes. So go ahead, David.
Yeah. So the movie Good Burger, which has become, a cult hit, and I want to talk about the sequel that you guys are doing. But how did that come about with Brian directing?
So Ed was obviously a character on all that. And it was a thing where it just really started to take off. And so like every musical guest wanted to be in a Good Burger sketch. And we had some like amazing, entertainers and musical guests that would come through there. And I remember where the first big thing Ed did was that we were doing the All That soundtrack. So this was Nickelodeon trying out saying, hey, yo, let's put out an album. And so I'm like, yeah, because, I started off rapping first, you know what I mean? So it was like, okay, cool. And I had already flew my boys out. We were on the first season of All That as a musical guest. So I'm like, yeah, let's go. And Brian, because it's such a great creative mind, right? And that's why I always like working with Brian, because it's like, I'm always like, let's do it. And we would have just like bounce back and forth. And I remember he's like, hey, yo, so you rap, right? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, so we're going to put you with the top boy group right now with Immature, and you're going to rap. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go. Like they're the top R&B kid group. Let's go rap. So we go to the studio, and I'm thinking I'm going to rap as Kell, because I'm like, yeah. And then he goes, no, you got to do it as Ed. And I'm like, oh, no. And I said, okay. Well, if Ed is going to be rapping, he about to be doing some bars. It's going to be fire, right? And so I go in there and I, right? And, as Ed, and Ed's like rapping. And now what's funny is that this music video has gone viral again because people are just like, what, Ed rapping? Like, what is this? What's going on?
Who wrote the lyrics? Did you write
that?
Song?
That was me. I wrote
awesome.
The lyrics as Ed rapping, and then watch me do my thing in the singing part. That they wrote all that as far as Immature in their group. And it was just like so awesome. I remember being in the studio as Ed. And I remember Immature saying, say cuckoo cuckoo, because you said that on a sketch. And I'm just like, what? And I made it cool. I was like, cuckoo, what you want to do? And it worked. And so that we ended up on the Billboard charts with that song because
come on,
one of the top boy bands at that time. And so that kicked off. And then Ed started to be like on MTV Jams and all these other shows. And then we had Keenan and Kell going on simultaneously. So then it became where Paramount was like, yo, let's do a movie with Good Burger. And Brian is like, I've never directed a movie before, but I've done this TV show. Let's get it. And he's just like, let's do it. And it was similar to All That, where it's like, let's try it out. The same way they did for All That, and it blew up. And the same thing happened with All That. I mean, with the Good Burger movie, where they wanted a quick turnaround. We had to shoot that thing really, really quickly, get it out. Brian did an amazing job. The writers, shout out to the writers, amazing job. And man, we're just like it's crazy. Like we're like a big family. Like we're still talking about it to this day, where it's just like really walking out on faith saying, hey, let's see if they dig it. You know what I mean?
Right? And then having this sort of almost sort of charmed version of it where it does all work. And then they're just like, well, now we're going to give you another show, and now we're going to give you a movie. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, now
it
you're
doesn't happen in the entertainment industry.
Brian Robbins sounds like Judd Apatow before Judd Apatow was around. Like he saw the talent. He said, you can do this, you can do this. And then he's the guy that actually got things done. Everybody, how everybody talks out here. Oh, we could do this, we could do that. But Brian actually was like, let's do it. We're going to record. We're going to write a movie. We're going to do a movie. And I want to ask you, what was the original sketch for Good Burger? What was the concept of the sketch for Good Burger?
Okay, so here's and I love telling this story. On the first season of All That, there was a sketch called Dream Remote. And in the sketch, Josh Server had this remote where he would forward through his life, rewind, all this stuff like that. Similar to the Adam Sandler movie that came out years later.
Yes,
right.
I feel like Adam must have saw it.
A little seed was planted. Yes.
Man. And so, but yeah, because we did this way back in the early 90s. And so he was forwarding and doing all this. And then he ordered a pizza and he forwarded the pizza coming. So it was just like, I was just playing a pizza guy. I walked to the door and I went, here's your pizza. And because I did the voice that did an audition. And they were like, yo, we got to do something with this character. And so like writers got together, created this world of Good Burger, this fast food employee that messes up orders. I didn't have the braids and all that stuff like that. So when I read this, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And coming from the world of theater, I was really into like really creating the character. Like, how does he walk? What's his background? How does he look? Because I did a lot of my own makeup and stuff in theater. So
that's the word.
The makeup and hair room, and I saw this Milli Vanilli braids. And I was just like, I got to do it. And I put it on. And that's the beauty. Like, shout out to the cast and crew of all that, because they were really into letting kids like be creative. So imagine I just go into the hair and makeup room and I bust out with this, like, yo, what do you guys think? And they're just like, sure, let's get it. I'm like, okay. And Ed was born, to this day, there's 5-year-olds having Good Burger birthdays and themed birthdays. And, we did the pop-up restaurant. We opened that up, a few years back. And, just like the orange soda, I still get welcome to Good Burger, whether I'm at a drive-through or a restaurant. I get all that. And it's just like, I'm so humbled by it. Like, it's super awesome. Like, I love it. It's great. Yeah.
Was the movie a big hit right off the bat? I can't remember because I know it's grown and grown.
Okay, so here's the thing. The budget for the movie, they just gave us a budget. Like, okay, here you go. You know what I mean? And we tripled it. And that was the thing.
Oh, okay.
So it came in at like, I want to say that weekend, it came in like number 4, number 5. Like it wasn't like a number 1 movie. But then he created a cult classic. And for everyone else, they're going, yo, Good Burger's doing numbers. It's still staying in the theaters. Whoa. You know what I mean? Like this movie. And that's what happened. That's what ultimately happened. And then for it to be a cult classic as well, to the point now where, bringing it back, which is super, super awesome as well. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Good Burger 2 is coming. Did you guys start shooting yet or no?
We start shooting in May. Like literally after I get off with you guys, I am looking at some auditions for a cameo stuff that I can't tell you about, but I'm doing. But it's awesome. Like Keenan and I are producing this with with Paramount and with Brian and everything, and it's just beautiful to be producing with the producers that produced me when I was a kid, and it's just like it's
a full circle moment, right? Yeah. A full circle moment.
Full circle moment. And we've been working on this for a while. Like everybody knows about it now, but like it got serious in the last 3 years where it got really serious. But we were like, we want this script to be really, really good because a lot of twos in movies, you know what I mean? So we wanted to make sure, and Keenan and I were very serious about that. And the script is amazing. It's super, super funny. Everybody, if you're a fan of Good Burger, you're going to really love this. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, when you made the first one, it was sort of this like, hey, why don't you guys try it? And you tried it. But now you have a real serious fan base, right? So it sort of ups the ante, so to speak. And for you and Keenan, I'm sure with every step of the way, keeping the fans in mind. And is this going to please with sequels? You always, right? When there's an expectation, that is very exciting.
Yeah.
Were you guys involved in writing the script?
Not in writing, but giving our input, with us being producers, we can definitely give our input within it. And it was cool because Kevin and Heath, who's writing it, they wrote the first one as well. It's great because we did the reboot of all that in 2019. And Kevin, and Heath got to play a lot with bringing Ed back and all that stuff like that. Because with producing the show, bringing it back, that was fun because the writers were like, "Yeah, we know that you're producing on it, Kel, but can you get back in the Ed outfit and can you do Coach Creedon?" And I was talking to my wife. I was like, "Thank God I've been working out." Because I mean, this physical comedy, man, it's like, and I'm keeping up with the young new cast and all this stuff like that. I was like, I gotta drink a lot of water.
You kept your Milli Vanilli wig.
Yeah, do my keto meals. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
I was wondering, were you and Keenan involved in any of the writing of the shows? Because it sounded like you guys. I mean, when you watch it. It sounds like it exudes your energy and your voices.
Yeah, this is why I became a writer and started to write, because we just didn't know it at the time. So the thing about it is that they allowed us to improv, because their thing about it was, hey, shoot it the way it was written. Let's get it in the can 2 times. And then, hey, you guys, go crazy. And so like we would literally change the script all the time with improving and definitely understanding our characters and doing that, to the point where it was seasons where they would say, "Hey, Kel, come in. What, you got some ideas?" And at the time, being young, I didn't know, like, oh, I'm literally writing. What is going on?
Right. Where's my credit?
And when I started figuring that out as I got older, then it was like, okay, let me put out my own content and start doing these things, and let's collab. Let's collab with Nickelodeon. So yeah, definitely. It was a camp that really prepared us for writing, for producing, for doing all the things that we've done. Like I said, it's like college for us, in high school and college. You know what I mean? We talk about, hey, dude, it was like a training camp about everything from physical comedy to, working 12, 14-hour days. And it was like the best sort of film school you could go to.
Kel, I gotta ask you about Mystery Men. And sidebar, Ben Stiller sends his love. He says hello. I've heard so many Mystery Men stories and am a big fan of Mystery Men. So I want to hear that process for you, and what was your experience on the movie? Because I've heard a lot of Ben's takes on the craziness of it all.
Yeah, it got crazy. Tell Ben I said hey.
I will. But tell us about that.
Okay, so for me, I remember I went into the audition process. And it was really cool. That was like because I'm auditioned a lot, but this was a cool audition process. When walking in there, I remember the casting director had like a bohemian type of feel where we were at. So it was like the chairs was real, and we just sat down on this like big like chairs that were super cool, and she just talked to me first, about like comedy and life and all that before we even got into the audition. And then she was like, "So you want to do it?" And I'm like, "What?" And she literally, I got the role at that point, and it was kind of like super cool. And so then to find out the amazing cast that was in this, like you're talking about Ben Stiller, Janine Garofalo, Wes Studi, like Greg Kinnear, like I could go on and on. It was big. And so I'm coming in there, I'm this Nickelodeon kid, you know what I mean, to them, you know what I mean? Like, and some of them knew, some of them didn't, you know what I mean? And then I grew up on Pee-wee as well. I mean, Paul Rubens.
Oh my gosh, of course.
And so I grew up on that. And to be working with them. And so, but I will say this about Mystery Man. I mean, obviously, it was I want to say 6 months. Like it was CGI. It was very different back then. Yes. So it wasn't as quick as you can get it done. And so it was like, you're talking about almost a year that we were almost, filming this thing. And what was crazy about it is that I remember the comedy, because there was so many comedians, that it was a lot of, I want my joke in, I want to do this, I want to do this. And so like shooting would take a long time because everybody wanted their jokes and improvising. And I remember that I wasn't involved in that because there was a thing of like, I don't want to, I want to step on anybody's toes. I'm gonna let them do their thing. Until one day, Janine kept watching me and was just like, well, what does Kel think? Yeah, Kel, what joke do you have to say in this? And I was like, oh, and I threw out a joke, and then Ben and everybody was like, oh, and I'm like, yeah.
The kids got
now I'm jumping in with the jokes now, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go.
That is so great. I love that. And you played, you were the invisible boy.
Invisible boy. That can only go invisible when no one was looking. And my power it actually worked. Right? It actually worked at the end. Like, I actually ended up saving the day. Spoiler alert if you hadn't seen Mystery Man. But within that, I remember that day because they told me, because when I come back, I'm naked when I reappear in the movie. And I remember that day they said, oh, it's going to be a closed set and nobody's going to be in the room, Kel. And they're like, you're going to wear these. And it was like this, like, my color skin thong.
No.
And I'm like, okay. And I put these on and they're like, nobody's gonna be there. And then I do the scene and everybody's there. Like, people
stop
poking out there.
While you're naked?
Yeah.
Well, we'll have a thong.
Yeah,
well, essentially. To me, that's probably almost worse, right? When you've got that thing also, it probably is worse. I've never had to wear one of those. But that whole idea, because again, we've said that would never happen today. That would actually be a closed set. You would be able to demand that, and people would listen. But the funny story that Ben told was, like, you had talked about that this was this like sort of big effects movie, but there was a whole third act that had to do, and Ben said the biggest issue was, and I'm going to say the word because it's a word that we laugh about in our house, the psychofraculator. The psychofraculator, which is a made up thing that is like the psychofraculator. And Ben just said his memory was everyone standing around in their ridiculous outfits and the producer and they're like over time and over budget. And the producer was like, I'm just more concerned about what is going to happen with this psychofraculator. And like everybody's having this really serious discussion in the costumes and talking about a thing that doesn't really exist. And he just had this sort of out of body experience. Like, what are we doing here?
When you said it, I literally was like,
boing, psychofraculator.
That is the thing. We mention that all the time. Here's the thing too. It was a wild experience with the filming of it, but I love Mystery Man. And here's the thing about it that's so funny. It became a cult classic. And so
I was going to say that. It's
another one with Good Burger because, like I go to these Comic-Cons and things like that, and people come dressed as, Ben. They come dressed as me. They come dressed in all these different like outfits that we had in the movie, which is so cool. The shoveler,
Yeah, David, if you haven't seen it, it's sort of, they're like the misfit superhero. So Ben is Mr. Furious, but he doesn't have a real superpower. He just knows how to get mad. And Hank Azaria plays the Blue Raja, who he throws forks, right? He throws cutlery. Oh, and Janine is the bowler.
She had her dad's head was in the bowling ball that had magical powers.
This sounds like an All That sketch.
They told us, here's the thing that is the new thing running around. I don't know if Ben knows this, but this is the thing. They're saying that our Mystery Man was the first like team up movie, and they did a whole thing on this. I can send you guys this.
The superhero universe,
right? Avengers, and putting superheroes together. Because before that, it was just Batman, Superman, and you would just have their world. And they said that Mystery Man was the first movie to show Marvel and everyone that, you can put all the superheroes together and have this world. So we got to do it too. We got to make this.
You should get royalties on all these Marvel movies.
I sense an idea sparking here. Wow.
But again, they let you do a song, right? You did a song for the soundtrack.
I did do a song, and one thing I'm kicking my foot. I kicking myself all the time for is at the premiere. Ben saw that I did that, And he said, "Why did you help Tommy for the music video?" And I'm like, "Oh, I wasn't even. That would have been amazing. Like you being in the music video with us. Like we had Keenan in the video, and that would have been. I mean, that would have been awesome. You know what I mean?
But, he could have directed it too.
Yeah. Yeah. But we had so much fun. I was working with Interscope at the time. And, I was just rapping back then, and I was just like, yo, Interscope's part of this. And they also had Goody Mob that was in the movie. They were in the movie as well. Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, oh, this is an opportunity to do a song. And they were just like, yeah, do a Mystery Man song. So I did a song, submitted it. They loved it. And we did like a song for the movie. They got in the movie. And then back when DVDs were around, it was part of these special features. So
the bonus.
I miss those. I love those bonus.
See Invisible Boy rap on the special feature. You take it.
That Mystery Men seems to be on all the time too. I noticed it's just sort of in flipping through, the cable channels. I'll pop it on whenever it's on.
I gotta watch it.
It's a classic, man.
Yeah, you guys were incredible. It really was a talented bunch, and I'm glad to hear that Janine invited you in to let you do your thing.
Yeah,
good for Jane. I love her.
That was fun, man. And everybody on that cast were like big brother, big sister. Like I admired everybody on there, and for them to all I was just being a sponge. Like just give me the advice. These are comedians that I love, and so I just was just like getting all the advice, watching them. I was just in awe with it. You know what I mean? But then they were like, "Okay, now get in here."
Yeah. Now you do some work. Yes.
Yeah. You need one moment like that where someone says, "Yeah, let's hear your ideas."
Yeah, man.
And you're still doing music?
I am still doing. I stopped for a while. I mean, I put my hand in a lot of stuff, and I just my main thing is hey, I love this journey of life and learning along the way, and whatever God has for me, that's what I just step out on faith and do. You know what I mean? And so it's just been super awesome. And I had a book called Bless Mode, which is a 90-day devotional that I put out about a year and a half ago. And it was doing so well, and it works on your spiritual self and your physical self. And it's just a great book to motivate you to get up in the morning and know that you're beautifully, wonderfully made by God. And so the cool thing about it was that I wanted to, have the devotional have a call to action. So I've seen a lot of devotionals where, it motivates you, but then you put the book down. And I'm like, no, I want you to do something. So I would throw burpees in there. I would throw.
Are you serious? Like some exercise?
Totally serious.
That is such a cool concept. I love it. Get your prayers on while you get some sit-ups in, right?
Exactly. Because the physical is so important too as well. You know what I mean? So I did this and it took off. And then I was like, I love music. You know what I mean? Let me get back in the music world. And as I was creating the book, this was during the pandemic. So it was a lot of, working out and eating right and all these different things that me and my wife were doing anyway. We were doing it, having the kids do. And so I would have like a soundtrack every day that I would listen to. And so I was like, yeah, let's get in the studio and, put a song to Bless Mode. So we did that, put it out. That was great. And then, of course, when I did that, now everybody's like, Kel's back in music. We need another record. We need another song.
Yeah.
And so I just dropped my new single, Go Time, as well, which is also a motivating song as well. And so I'm loving this. Like, I'm loving that people are enjoying my music because
it's appreciated. Yeah. And I think it's at a time, honestly, Kel, where the world is looking for that. People are looking for
positivity,
guidance, positivity, motivation, self-reflection. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I'm very impressed that you, your wife, and your family spent the pandemic eating healthfully and being healthy, because most people like me ate and made sourdough bread, and that sourdough bread craze that was going around, I was on board with it. I mean, I feel like that pandemic, the first year was like, did I eat anything except for carbohydrates? So I'm paying the price now. Exactly.
Well, that's how we started.
Yeah.
So that's how the workout ended up, because we were just like, wait a minute.
What are we doing?
We need to work out. We need to do something. Have some type of schedule. Because
How old are your kids?
I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They're like,
Oh,
they're
you're busy.
loving it. They're having a super day. And it was cool, like doing a Good Burger and having them be able to experience that. And then now I'm doing bedtime stories as Ed now. Because they're like, do your voices, Dad.
Do your voices. And then soon they're going to start watching it and say, like, that's our dad? That's so
There's
weird.
no better audience in the world than your own kids.
Oh, yeah, man.
I mean, that's special, man.
My baby.
Until they age out of that, and then you're their least favorite person. Then you can do nothing right. So enjoy this time now.
You got some time. Well, Kell, thank you so much, man. This was a great interview.
Man.
This was such a pleasure to meet you, to talk to you after seeing you for so many years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good luck on the movie, man. I know there's so many people waiting to see this, and you're going to bring a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. You guys got to come through. Come to the premiere. Come through.
Yes. We've earned our Nickelodeon seats there, right?
Yeah, we're going to be shooting in Rhode Island, of all places. So that's going to be.
Oh, that sounds great, though. How fun.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it because the first one was in West Covina, California. So now it's been turning Rhode Island into West Covina. So
they must have a good tax credit or something.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
That's another reason why we're out there. Yep.
Dude, if we get invited to the premiere, we will be there, and we'll certainly be seeing it. And you're awesome, man. Congrats on everything.
Such a pleasure meeting you. Yeah. And yes, I will send Ben a hello from you, and vice versa. Keep those Mystery Men 2 ideas percolating.
Let's go.
People want it.
Yeah, Ben's the king of sequels, 20 years later.
20 years later, 30 years later. I know. Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Kell.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Have a good one, buddy.
Yes, you too.
All right. Another good one in the books.
Yeah. It's so funny because we were that little bit older. So what he was saying about, I knew of the Nickelodeon shows, but they weren't shows that I was watching because we were a good handful of years older than them. But over the years, I've seen so much of him, and of course, Mystery Men. But what a joyful person! Like, I just love. Again, I think we have this in common with you and I, David, and also the people that we know and love and have worked with, is that it's just sort of this love of the work and the opportunities that we get. And that just sort of came through so much that he just is like, I'm down for anything.
Yeah, bring it on. I love it. Yeah, he's just such a positive attitude. And looking back on the work that they did, I mean, Kenan Thompson, arguably one of the best sketch comedians ever. I mean, he's like the longest running SNL cast member. But I mean, the two of them together were at a young age, they were in such sync and just so funny. I mean, we were talking to Jodie Sweetin about it last week. She was 5 years old.
I know.
Like zinging one-liners, and like Kell said, he went into the audition. They said, you do some impressions. I mean, how many kids can break out, impressions and then win the role?
What's amazing too is how he had started, like he said, my goal was not just to be on TV. It was, he was looking for an outlet to be creative and get his juices flowing. He said he was like that kind of kid. So that theater experience, and I know a lot of people joke about, community theater, but like, it's hardcore. I mean, I grew up in community theater in Pennsylvania, and it's, these are real productions with, people who are there because they love what they're doing, not because they're getting a paycheck, because they all have day jobs. Like, as a kid working in community theater, like he was, you're with the town dentist or whoever. I mean, it's not all like waiting for government. It's not all that bad.
No, listen, I played the Prince and the King and I at Pleasantville Music Theater. I mean, and when people ask me, I want to get into business, I want to act, what should I do? My first response is go do some theater.
Yes.
And you'll either love it or you won't. I mean, but the camaraderie, the rehearsal process, the bonding that goes on, and the collaboration.
Yep.
I feel like you either fall in love with it or you go, it's not for me. But I think it's what a great place to start as an actor.
Yes. And just the skill set that he learned. And I am so impressed. And by the way, it does really speak volumes for, I think of our experience on Nickelodeon as well. And with the guidance of our writers at the time, they really entrusted so much. And again, because I think that it was sort of a new budding network in a way, for television in that sense, but how much they allowed creative freedom with those kids on that show and letting them do what, as Kel said, he realized he was actually doing the writing, but not getting the paycheck. They were just stealing his ideas.
Kel, what would you say here?
Yeah.
Let's just scribble that in. But, Nickelodeon was for kids, by kids. I mean, it was like,
you know what? You're right.
It makes total sense. But
yes.
What a great guest and a great person.
So that was fun. And right before we started, we had a little powwow about a lot of exciting guests we have coming up.
Oh my gosh.
That we're not going to tell you.
No, we got, 1, 2, we got bang, great guests. And thank you everyone for listening and joining us. And Christine, amazing to see you.
Good to see you. We'll see everybody next time.
Yes. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe and give us 5 stars.
And please follow us on Instagram at HeyDude, the 90s Called. See you next time.